What is up, people of YouTube? All right, let's just hop right into it. Today, I'm going to teach you how to create a ADHD reactor. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to be productive and how to transform the negative or the downsides of your ADHD into positive outcomes. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to give you an example here of the difference between a neurotypical brain and an ADHD brain. So let's say this is Bob. Okay, now Bob is neurotypical. He has a normal brain and he was born normally and he is trying to be more productive. Okay, now we also have Zen here. Zen has ADHD and he is also trying to be productive. So what happens when these two go out to try and up their productivity? Well, they're both going to look up resources. They're going to watch YouTube videos on this and things like that. And Bob here is going to come up with these resources and they're going to say, do this, do this, do this. And Bob's going to be like, okay. And then Bob does the things, the resources that told him to do, and lo and behold, he sees a productivity increase. Now, you, Zen here, ADHD, he goes out and he finds these same resources, right? And he has them and they're telling him, do this, do this, do this, and do this. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm going to do that. And when he puts them into practice, he quickly can tell, like he sees a little bit of improvement at first, but he can quickly tell this is not going to work. And it's like it's all over the place. Like it's not even like what's going on. And then it eventually just ends up with him being burnt out and he's done working and he's not doing anything. And this makes Zen very sad and he thinks that he's a failure and he's like, well, why didn't it work? I just suck. I'm a failure, you know? And that's not true. The problem with this is that Zen has completely different hardware than old Bob here. Like his hardware is completely different. Now, a way that I like to think about this is Bob is like a gasoline engine and Zen here is like a diesel engine. Diesel and gasoline both have their ups and downs as fuel sources, right? They both have things that are good and things that are bad for both of them. Now, diesel is cool and it has good use cases, right? So it's not that Bob or Zen are inherently better than each other. It's just that they operate differently. And you wouldn't put gasoline in a diesel engine. So Zen can't use the same resources that Bob is using and expect the same results. He needs to create his own resources, or he needs to find resources for people with ADHD. And these are typically more rare. And on top of that, ADHD has this unpredictable element to it. And I'm going to explain that in a second, where it's, you don't get to just get away with looking up a productivity hack and using it. It's not that simple when you have ADHD. But don't be dismayed, because the way that the ADHD engine works is that, here, I'm going to show you. So if you are thinking of people as energy, right? Let's say a neurotypical person, Bob here, he is sort of like a nice, cozy little fire in the home. Like a nice little heath, right? Now, this thing is awesome. You can use it to cook. You can use it to warm your house. You can use it to do all these nice things. It's a really great tool. Awesome, right? Gets things done. ADHD, on the other hand, is not like this nice, clean, pretty controlled fire that you still have to take care of it, and there's still maintenance and stuff, but it's not as bad. So ADHD, on the other hand, is like this extreme chemical reactive fire. It's like some chemical that's burning instead of the wood, and it's doing something like this, like it's very hot and it's very like sporadic and random, and it goes out in directions intensely, right? And this is why you don't get anything done, because your fire, your energy is like all over the place, and it's hot and it's consuming things rapidly. It's constantly seeking out the next thing to consume, the next thing that's going to give it a little bit of dopamine, right? And this is a problem that normal fire has. It's just ADHD has it worse. Now, the thing about that, though, is if we are thinking of this in terms of energy, that means that if you are able to harness that energy, if you are able to somehow focus it in a way that is beneficial, so let's say this is like your crazy ADHD fire, if you build something that can focus it, it's like a laser at that point. And this is really something about ADHD that is special, that neurotypical people cannot experience. They can come close, but we just have it way more. It's like when you have ADHD, you are either all in or you are not. And when you're not, you're everywhere. It's like you cannot stay still. Your mind is going to go to a million different things, and it wants to do all of them. It's asking all these anxious questions. The thoughts are just racing, and it's like this uncontrollable fire just like burning in all these different directions, going absolutely insane. It's not useful, right? Except that it actually is useful. You just have to build the thing around it, and then it becomes like a blowtorch, and it becomes very specific use case, right? And both of you, Bob and you, would both benefit from some sort of system in place to harness the energy. Like so the way that you got to think about this is, in order to harness the energy that you have as someone with ADHD, you have to build a reactor that suits your fuel type, right? And it has to be made out of things that accommodate for how your fuel burns. So, like, Bob's reactor is going to look much different than your reactor, than Zen's reactor here. Yours might be more expensive on the front end, but when it's complete, once you've tweaked it, once you've got it working, it's going to burn hotter and more intensely than Bob's reactor, right? So it's harder on the front end, but easier on the back end. This isn't really, I don't think I can just quite consider ADHD a disability in the sense that it makes life harder and worse. It's more like it makes things more challenging, but then once you overcome those challenges, it's actually easier. But in order to do that, you have to make life more accessible to you because you do have a disability, and that's what this reactor is. It's accessibility, okay? Like, you wouldn't expect an autistic person to live and do things the same way that a neurotypical person does. But we don't really look at ADHD like this. But it is. Like, you're wired completely differently. You're built different. So you need different solutions, okay? And that's really the long and short of it. So now you kind of have that mental image of a neurotypical is like a nice fire in a home, and an ADHD person is like this energetic, crazy plasmid that's constantly seeking dopamine, and it needs to just go and burn something up real quick, right? So that is the way that I like to think about it. And you can think about Bob as being a gasoline engine and you as being a diesel engine. I don't actually know anything about those two types of engines, but I'm just using that as an example to explain differences. So how do you make your ADHD reactor? Well, like I said, it's basically making your life more accessible. And the way that you do this is you first need to understand your ADHD. So you need to understand the quirks that make you different from Bob. Your ADHD reactor has to be able to, and if we think about the nature of the fuel, like that you are running, so to speak, when you have ADHD, it's your reactor needs to be more expensive because you're working with a hotter fuel source and things are going to break more often. So that's the first step, is you need to be willing and okay with things breaking. It's just going to happen. You're building a more expensive reactor. So things are going to break, your systems are going to fall apart, and that's fine. It's just going to happen. Because you need to have a higher degree of optimization in order to channel this type of power. Okay? So let me show you something here. The inputs for ADHD are basically passion. That's the way I'd put this is, you and Bob have different fuel mixtures, right? There's multiple different things at play, things like discipline, passion, emotions are another one. They're not really as useful in the reactor, but that's another thing that's going on under the hood. Basically, the input for ADHD fuel type is passion. And discipline, which would be a better input for Bob, is not as helpful here. It's just our brains aren't really built to work off of discipline. Okay? So, and I'm going to rephrase this real quick. I'm going to go on a little tangent here. It's not that discipline is bad and doesn't work for you. It's that your brain has a lower threshold for it. So it's good to use in the short term, but not in the long term. What I like to call this is microdiscipline. So having small things where it's like, oh, I really don't want to do that, but it's only going to take 5 minutes. Okay, I'll do it, right? Or, oh, it's only going to take 10 minutes. I'll do it, whatever. Like, that's okay. You want to build that muscle, right? Because discipline is a muscle. But if you try and sustain that, your brain is going to be like, no. Because it's going to keep sending like the I don't like this signal. And then because you have a lower baseline dopamine, it's going to feel worse than it would for somebody without ADHD. And eventually you're going to quit. It's just what's going to happen, right? And your brain is going to like derail you, and it's going to be like, well, I told you no. You didn't listen, you know? So, and that's the thing. Like, if your brain is telling you something, you need to listen. And you need to figure out if you want to be more productive. And this is a tip for how you build this reactor. And this reactor is made up of systems, right? And I'm going to tell you one type of system is mindsets. So you need to change your mindsets about some of these things, which I gave you some of that, about like how things are going to break and you need to be okay with it instead of beating yourself up and feeling like a failure. This may be odd because my brain just completely refreshed and I'm cutting back to it. So what I think I was saying was that you need to build up this infrastructure, this ecosystem of systems that channel this kind of energy, right? So you need to create channels for this in your life. And if your brain is telling you, I don't want to do this, you need to listen to it, right? And you need to have this intuitive sense of like, okay, when should I listen to my brain? When should I not listen to my brain? But more often than not, you need to just listen to it. And if you're going to do something unproductive, why don't you just tweak it a little bit so that it becomes productive? Or if you know for a fact that you are going to go off the rails, why not have a system in place that puts you back on the rails, right? That's how you can think about this. So for me, an example of that is I like to play video games. I'm going to keep using this example. If you watch my video, you know I have a gaming problem. What that means is that I need to somehow fulfill that passion or that desire, and I need to build something so that when I go off course and that passion is like taking over, there's something to put me back on course and give me momentum towards productivity. I need to be able to harness the energy and sort of like create a system and like understand in my mind a little bit how to like airbender my way back into productivity and gain momentum from that little distracted excursion, right? That way you actually gain more momentum and you gain more dopamine and you start to associate your real wins with the how it feels to win at a video game or something. And that's how you get more done, is by making, this is a great system, this is a wonderful, wonderful system, is just setting defaults. And you can do this today. You can do this right now. You can decide that, and it's okay if you fall off of course, as long as you get back on course, right? You can decide that your default is going to be productivity. And whenever anything happens that isn't productivity, you can try and learn how to tweak it so that it puts you back into being productive, right? You can do that. And the way you do that is by harnessing momentum and pivoting it. So I'm going to give you an example. Like for me, the video game thing, if I'm going to go play video games, I may as well only have one video game installed. And it's going to be the video game that is actually teaching me something. So I'm actually learning from it. And then it's getting me hyped up to go and work on something, which for me, that would be Hacknet. Because that teaches me how to use the terminal, and I'm trying to learn computers right now. So if I am going to be on a distracted excursion, I'm going to be playing Hacknet, and it's going to make me hyped, and it's going to make me thinking about my distro that I'm working on, and it's going to make me pivot, and I'm going to go work on that all of a sudden, right? So that's what you need to do, is you need to set up the, if you understand you're going to go off the rails, and you understand what the losing conditions are, tweak the losing conditions to make them winning conditions. That's strategy. That's how you win. Okay? So I'm going to list that down here, and I hope you're taking notes, by the way. If you're not, you should be, because you have poor recall, and taking notes is going to make this stick a little bit better. Not necessarily to go back to it, just to remember it easier. But having defaults where you understand that in this span of time, and I don't like in this span of time because it seems too specific for me. It seems to me that ADHD does not like specific so much. It more so is, like, I'll give you an example. I know that generally speaking, in the beginning of the day is when I want to do my studying. That's just what works for me, because I am more creative and productive at nighttime, which you may be as well, because if you have ADHD, you actually have a delayed circadian rhythm. It's a weird little quirk about ADHD, is your internal clock is forward a few hours. So you're living in a world that is basically you're behind schedule, or ahead of schedule, and it just messes everything up, right? And that's when we can also tend to feel more groggy when we get up because of that reason. And there's other things as well, like our brain doesn't give us as much dopamine when we wake up. So here's another little tip, is I call it dopamine baiting, where most people will tell you like, oh, don't check your phone. Like, it's when you wake up, that's the horrible thing to do. And I agree, you shouldn't be checking your phone, but you should be maybe intentionally deciding, I'm going to bait myself with some dopamine right now to get my internal systems kicking back up and running, right? So it's like, I'm going to watch a video that I like, and maybe it's going to be about an educational topic to be productive, right? Or I'm going to allow myself to play a video game for the first 30 minutes of the day, or something like that, right? Just to get the dopamine kind of kickstarted. That can be a helpful tool. For me, I typically just lay in bed and I'll watch some YouTube videos for a little while. And then typically, because of my system that I built up where my default is rerouting unproductivity into productivity, I will, after like one or two videos, I switch into study mode, essentially. So that's how that works. But you can make the decision right now that your default is going to be productivity, like 24/7. And that sounds toxic, but when you understand that you just need to meet your passions, it's not toxic anymore. When you understand that when you're out of energy, when you're feeling kind of burnt out, then that's actually a good time to work on strategy, and to like take a chill pill, or it's a good time to meditate, or it's a good time to go take a shower and sit down and watch news about something that is related to your field, then that's productive, right? Like, that's not bad. You don't have to be this extreme workhorse. You just need to be able to channel the energy that is already there in you towards something productive. And you want to cognitively offload this as much as possible by building systems, because that's really what your reactor or your reactor is made out of, is systems. You have to create an environment where the most probable outcome is you getting the work done. That's what you do. Your productivity is going to be a journey. It's going to be a little bit more expensive on the front end, but it's going to work better on the back end. And I'm going to tell you right now, in life, you get what you pay for. If you're unwilling to put in effort or time, it's not really effort. This is more about time. It's like simple tasks over a longer period of time. If you don't have patience, or you're unwilling to spend money on things that you need to spend money on, or you're unwilling to spend time on things that you need to spend time on, or effort on things you need to spend effort on, you're not going to get much out of life. But after you build something, it's done. It's complete. It's finished. You don't have to tweak it again. And if it breaks, then build another one. One of these inputs that you can put into your fuel mixture to make your reactor a little better is studying, is looking up things about productivity, trying to understand productivity and trying to understand ADHD. Basically inputting knowledge as a, which, I mean, this is more for the reactor building, I would say, but it can also help you learn how to pivot and control your own energy. Is understanding how these things work is going to be a multiplier for the efficiency of your output. So with these things in mind, one thing that you can add to your reactor is my coaching, because I understand these things, and it's my job to go out and study these things and gain the insights from them, and I can apply them to your specific reactor setup, to your build, and I can help you plan it, and I can help you experiment with it, I can help you test it, I can help you get it up and running, right? It's a little bit faster and a little bit easier when you have some help. So, and this is what I do. So if you don't want to do this, like, I study for this every day. That's why I'm got good at it, is because I have this input of knowledge. So if you pay for my coaching, you're basically getting somebody to do that for you and then give you the takeaways and how it actually applies to your life. So if you want a better reactor, that is one option, is you can buy some of my coaching, which, by the way, my first calls are completely free, and we'll get you a solution figured out right away. That's all I got. I mean, thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I am now offering body doubling and weekly check-in texts with accountability. Those are both $25 an hour. Thank you for watching. You guys have a good one. Peace.